Good morning. This is Wednesday morning. I sure am glad to be with you today. I hope today is a wonderful day for you. And perhaps it will be a blessing in a special way. And maybe something we have today will be a blessing as well. I sure hope so. I would hate to waste my time in speaking, but people all the time are coming up to me and saying, Pastor, I appreciated that devotion. I appreciated that message that you gave us. And what a blessing that is to know that we can encourage somebody else. You know, a lot of funny things happen in life, don't they? And we somebody asked me one time, they said, Pastor, have you ever looked in the mirror and said to yourself, what happened to me? And we were talking about growing older. And I said, only every morning when when I get up and I look at myself and I think, oh my goodness. Well, I was talking to my doctor the other day, and my doctor said we were talking about different things at home, and he said, he said at my house, he said I do a lot of things around the house, but he said my wife and I we kind of divide things up. He said about 60-40, and he said she obviously does the most. He said, but I'll tell you, there's one thing I just hate. And he said, I just will not do it. I don't like it. I won't do it. He said, I will not iron. I hate to iron clothes. I won't do it. He said, and then he looked at me and he said, have you ever used that wrinkle spray stuff they have? You can spray it on it. Takes the wrinkles right out. I said, no, I never have. He said, man, he said, that stuff works great. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, I'm going to get some sprayed on my face. Well, I don't think it's what it's going to help. But anyway, that's the way it is. And things happen in life, and we understand that. That's a part of life. But there's another part of life that we can help a little bit. And that is today we're going to be talking about hasty words. Somebody said this, and I like it. Hasty words are not always tasty words. Our former pastor used to say this all the time: be careful what you say. Make sure your words are sweet, because if you have to eat them, you want them to taste good. Well, we want to be careful about our words, and we're going to be talking about hasty words, being quick to speak, and often before we think. And so you stay with us. Our text is going to be in Proverbs 29. We're going to be celebrating the 25th anniversary of our church on August the 3rd. We're looking forward to that day. We have some special guests that will be coming in, special things that we will be doing to commemorate 25 years. And it's hard to believe that it has been 25 years since we began our church in the garage and then moved into the wedding chapel for almost 5 years that we were there, and then built our building and where our church is today. And we're grateful for the blessings of God. And we'll be talking about that on August the 3rd. I would invite you to come. We'll have one big service in the morning at 10 o'clock, and then dinner on the grounds, and then we'll have an evening service that I know will be a blessing as well. We're looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful time. We already have a lot of words from people that are coming. And so we're excited about that as well. And then we have 3 days of special meetings after that: Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so we want to do our part, and you be in your place. And I know that it will be a blessing. So I hope that we will all do that. Well, I read this. I thought it was kind of funny. Most of us are familiar with Carol Burnett. She was a comedian, an actress, and had a long standing show, the Carol Burnett Show, one of the, uh, I think, one of the funniest shows that was on, with a lot of the things they did. But she got out of a cab one day in New York City, and when she got out of the cab and closed the door, her coat was caught in the door. Well, the driver was not aware of it. And so he began to slowly edge out into the traffic and dragging her coat with her. And to keep from being pulled off of her feet, Carol Burnett had to run alongside down the block. Well, a passerby saw what was going on and he quickly alerted the driver, ran out, waved his hands like this. The driver stopped. Well, when he jumped out, he opened the door and released her coat. And he looked at Carol Burnett and he said, "Are you okay? Are you all right? I am so sorry." Well, of course, she was out of breath after chasing him down the block. And she said, "Sir," she said, "I'm fine." She said, "I really am." She said, "Not a problem." She said, "I know you didn't mean it." But she said, "I just have a question." He said, "What?" She said, "How much more do I owe you for taking my coat down the road?" Well, that sounds like something she would say. And I'm afraid I might not have responded quite as well to that. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 29, in verse number 20, "Seest thou a man that is hasty in his words? There's more hope of a fool than of him." That word hasty is an interesting word because it literally has the idea of without plan, without thought. You know, you just do something hastily. That old statement, that all of us are familiar with, haste makes waste. And it does. Many times we do things in haste and then we wish we wouldn't have done that. Many people say things in haste and then wish they would not have said that. Sometimes our words are spoken without proper thought or consideration for either the circumstances or the damage that they might do. I was visiting not long ago with somebody. They were telling me about an illness that they had, and we were sharing about that, and I was having prayer with them concerning that illness. And when we finished talking and I got through praying with them, another person who was standing there, after we were done with that conversation, we kind of turned away. And this other person said to me, they said, "Pastor, have you ever been around somebody that no matter what the circumstances, they always knew somebody that whatever they had didn't turn out well?" I said, "No, I've heard it many times. I have heard people say to somebody in the hospital, my cousin had that and he died." Now, I want to tell you something that may be true, but those hasty, unthoughtful words did not help the person who was going through a trial. Like somebody who is in counseling, trying to salvage their marriage or trying to get help with themselves or whatever. And somebody says, "Oh, I'll tell you, I had a friend. They went to all kinds of counselings. It did absolutely no good." Well, what kind of encouragement is that? We need to be careful. Years ago, a man was in a barber shop getting a shave and a manicure. It was one of those old time kind of barber shops where everything was done the old fashioned way. And they had a lady that worked there that while the man was getting his hair cut or getting a shave or whatever, that the manicurist would do their fingernails for them, trim them up, clean them, all that kind of thing. Well, there was this barber shop that the lady who did the manicure, she was a very pretty and young lady. So this man was sitting there and he was getting a shave with an old fashioned straight razor. And this pretty lady was doing his hands for him. And she was cleaning them, trimming them, filing them. And he looked at her and he said, "How about a date when you get off tonight?" She said, "No, I'm married." Well, the man was just undaunted. And so he said to her, he said, You don't have to tell your husband you're going to see me. He said, just tell your husband that you're going to meet some of your girlfriends. He would never know the difference. Well, this young woman who was fixing his nails, she said, I've got an idea. She said, why don't you tell him? And the man said, what do you mean? He said, well, why don't you tell him? He's the one shaving you with that straight razor. I think the guy was a little regretful that he had ever said anything and was hoping he could take the words back. Well, that happens many times, doesn't it? Many times words are spoken without taking time to think through what is said. We need to make sure that we are using words, as Proverbs says, that are fitly spoken. Our words should be words of grace and seasoned with salt to try to help them be helpful words. Many words that are spoken in haste will only bring problems and trouble both to us and to the person we're speaking to. We need to be careful that our words are taste good when they're spoken and taste good when they're eaten. We need to have those kind of words. Hasty words seldom taste very good later. All of us know the feeling of having said what we later wished we could retract. Many people are like the old saying, they put their mouth in gear while their brain is in neutral. Well, words can do great harm and great good. God tells us that we should use our words to encourage others. We can help people by bearing burdens with encouragement. The Bible says we are to edify one another. We are to provoke one another to love and to good works. And many times it's simply a word that is spoken. When we think about that, we need to make sure we are not hasty in our words, but we want to be a blessing. We must be careful to use our words properly and with the right motive. Things are not always what we think they are, and we need to be aware of the circumstances and the consequences of hasty words. Our words can encourage and they can discourage. They can comfort or they can add to the present sorrow. Hasty words are very seldom sweet words. Some time ago, a man came into my office and he was sharing with me about a problem they were having in their home. As we talked, I could tell he was really distraught. He was upset over the situation. And I don't mean mad at his wife. He was upset that there was a problem. Well, I could see it, I could hear it, I could watch it, and his heart was broken by the circumstance. Well, as we were talking, I was trying to find, how did you get to this place? How did your relationship with your wife get to this state? And finally, it came out that the root of the problem was that he would often speak hastily, just off the cuff, and then try to take back what he had said. You may ask for forgiveness, and the offended person that you hurt may even say they forgive you. But you need to remember that the memory of those words lingers on. You don't just wipe out a memory because you said, I'm sorry. I remember one lady told me, what you say first is what you really meant. We need to be careful when we are speaking. We must want to use our words so that we say things that are a benefit, not a help. We had a lady in our church one time. She was a very, very smart lady. I mean, very smart. She worked for an insurance company. Most of you probably are familiar with them, Aflac. Well, Aflac Insurance does a lot of business in Central America and in that part of the world. The interesting thing about that part of the world is this: many of those countries, even though they are speaking Spanish, the same language, the same words in two different countries will have two different connotations. And this lady, her job was to take the the things that were written in the policies of Aflac and make sure that they were fitting for the country to which it was going. For instance, you may be working out a policy for a family that live, we'll just say, for example, in Guatemala. And the Guatemalans, they speak Spanish, but maybe they're going to also sell this same policy in another country. We'll just say that they're going to give it to Honduras. Well, in Honduras, the phrase that is used in Guatemala may mean something totally different over here. You and I need to understand sometimes that what we think we're saying to the person who's hearing us, it may not mean the same. We need to be careful when we're speaking, to speak words of encouragement to somebody. Did you know not only can we use wrong words to try to encourage, but the attitude by which something is said? Sometimes what we say to somebody can be absolutely right, but if they don't believe that we're saying that out of a heart of love, then we're going to have a hard time convincing them. We need to be careful with the words that we say. I want you to think back again to our text. A man that is hasty in his words. That literally means speaking without thinking. He just, whatever comes to mind, it's just out. And the Bible says there's more hope of a fool than of him. We need to learn to guard our words so that we do not use our words to hurt, but to help. We want to heal. We want to encourage. As I mentioned earlier, many people know the saying, haste makes waste. Well, I would like to say that haste can not only make waste, but it also can do great damage of destruction when it is not mixed with wisdom and kindness. We ought to be like David said, Lord, I want to set a watch over my mouth so that I do not say what I should not say. I don't want to be a man hasty in his words. Let's be wise today. Let our words be of grace and seasoned with salt. God bless you today. And I hope the Lord will give you something special today. And may our time together be a blessing to you. And join with us in the morning right here. God bless you today is my